Welcome to another episode of Inside Rangers Football. I'm your host, Brain Freeman, joined as always by Rangers head coach Larry Hill. We're now at the halfway point of the season, 5 games in. Smithson Valley 4-1, more importantly 2-0, now in District 12 5A play after a dominating 35-0 win over Canyon here at Ranger Stadium this past Thursday. And coach, let's start there with the win over the Cougars. Canyon came in unbeaten, playing really good on offense. They were averaging better than 45 points a game. Your defense pitches a shutout against a team that can hit a lot of home runs, stretch the field vertically, grind you with the run game. But for every challenge thrown your way, your defense was up to the task.
Well, they were. They did a nice job during the week. They really focused in practice, really focused in meetings, put a lot of time in the film room. But sometimes you do that, you have a game plan, and sometimes it works and sometimes it didn't. But a real emphasis on, just trying to get them off kilter a little bit. You're right, for 4 games, just nearly everything they tried had worked. And, to disrupt their timing a little bit, to try to keep the quarterback in the pocket. Weren't able to do that every snap, but and then I think prevent the home runs. They've been so successful at throwing on rhythm deep, or extending the play with the quarterback's feet, 8, 10, 12, 13-second plays, and then somebody's wide open down the field because you can't hold coverage that long. And, we were able to do that for the most part. And then, I think of the offense clicking and keeping the ball for long stretches of time, and then getting off to such a quick start. That's always desirable, but sometimes doesn't happen. But, we had them swimming upstream early in the ball game.
I always think about the turning point of a game. I'm having a hard time pinpointing that in this one because you played so well early. The game seemed to be within your grasp fairly early on. But I felt like you put the game away, if you want to use that as your turning point, late in the first half. Yeah. You just get a touchdown with under a minute to go, and then you get a turnover inside the red zone, and you cast it in with more points and another late score to make it 35-0. Right. Looking back at that moment in time, do you feel as if that kind of put the game very well in your favor?
Yeah, I think so. I think we scored maybe 3 touchdowns in the last 5-6 minutes of the half. And, so you're 5 possessions up. If your offense can do a good job holding the ball and grinding the clock, they may not even get 5 possessions. That was certainly our goal coming out. And went down really and had a long drive that could have been the 6th touchdown, and we fumbled going into the end zone, but took some clock. So, we were able to like I said, it doesn't always go your way early. We know that. You go out there enough time against quality opponents like Canyon, doesn't always go like that. Last Thursday night it did, and I'm not sure we could duplicate that, but fortunately we don't have to. We did it when we had to last Thursday.
You mentioned the fumble going in. That was from your quarterback, Chase Sendlick, but remove that from his game. 15 of 16 passing, better than 260 yards, 3 touchdowns. Seemed to be very much in rhythm, just on the same page with his receivers. The blocking up front was great. Your passing game, as you evaluate that from this past Thursday against Canyon, what impressed you the most?
Well, I think you hit on it a little bit. They're just in a real good rhythm. We were able to get the ball out, usually to a first option on time with protection. Guys did a nice job separating, getting open. Chase did a very nice job of throwing it into the voids, the open areas. And I think the running game had a lot to do with that. Some of those were play action passes, and those play action fakes that's a real draw when you're running the ball very well. And so, it's just a real nice team effort by our whole offense. And as you said, Chase played extremely well.
We speak a lot about explosive plays and the need for them to be able to have success offensively and to win ball games. Right. And you've been able to really stretch the field over the past few games, primarily with TJ Hunt, his ability to get downfield, get separation, beat defenders. Chase seems to have a good, rapport with them right now. Yeah. Just how valuable is that in your offense right now?
Well, it is extremely valuable for a lot of reasons. We've talked before on this show about the difficulty of the 8, 10, 12 play drive for long, sustained drives for touchdowns. You can get a few, but can you get enough of them? Can you get 4 or 5 of those in a game? Against quality opponents, usually not. So there is a need for big chunk plays. That's one thing. And then many of them are coming off play action pass, so when those films get around, opponents start thinking, well, maybe we don't need to be quite so quick to commit to the run because of that. And so that makes your running game better, and maybe you start getting some big chunk runs as well. So I think it just helps your offense not only score, which is obvious, but become more well-rounded, and it makes the rest of your offense potentially that much better.
And Coach, if I can get back to the defense here for a moment, and we brought this up during the broadcast, and it felt like the entire game and really for a good portion of the season, that the defense really just kind of starts with the success you've been having up front. You look at your defensive line, your starters, Dylan Goss, Jackson Maynard, Noah Herring. You also have McCain up there on the defensive line. As you look at their play in terms of setting the tone for you, how impressed have you been with that through these first 5 games?
Well, we've been very impressed. The ability to play the run and then pressure the passer without necessarily having to bring linebacker pressure. We certainly are going to do that some and have, but to be able to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly while everyone else is in coverage, that's a huge help to the rest of your defense. And then, but yet they've shown the ability to beat one-on-one blocking, or if we do bring an extra one, maybe 2 blitzers, that frees them up a little bit, free from double teams and that kind of thing. So they've played well. Doug Lance, our starting tailback, is now beginning to play some there at defensive end. In fact, recovered a fumble the other night, as we'll see on the plays of the week. So those guys are pretty athletic. We here at Smithson Valley have shied away from, like a lot of teams do, playing the big 270, 280, 290 kid who can swallow up space. We look at our front 4 as other linebackers, and they're just playing with their hand on the ground. And while some of them do have some size, if they can't run and make tackles and make sacks, then they won't play for us. And sometimes that comes in smaller packages. And so they don't necessarily, just looking at the foursome of them, wow you with their size. They're good size, but not maybe as big as others. But they're very athletic, and they're playmakers, and that showed up last Thursday night.
Well, Coach referenced the plays of the week. Let's get right to them.
Let's go take a look. Our first play of the week is a 9-yard touchdown run on our student section end. As you can see there, we're going to feature Braden Bafetis. He's the one that's going to get it in the end zone. He's noted there with the arrow above him. It's a deceptive play. You notice we fake our tailback into the middle of the line to draw the defense in, and then we pitch the ball to Braden coming around the backside of the quarterback. Get 2 really fine blocks right there by Ty Stone and T.J. Hunt. They're going to seal off the inside. That's Reese Anderson and T.J. Hunt. And then you have Ty Stone leading blocking on the cornerback, kicks him out, and then there's a nice alley for Braden to get through. And right at the goal line, you see he makes contact with the safety, and he wins the collision and staggers into the end zone for a touchdown. And we begin to pull away a little bit there early in the ball game. See it from the end zone here. There's Braden, number 19, on our left, but then we're going to fake that ball to Brad Soursby, one of our tailbacks, sophomore tailback, running to the left. And we also pulling 2 linemen from right to left, so that kind of marries up in the defense's eyes to a running play to the left. But then we pitch the ball to Braden, and then Ty Stone turns around and goes back where he came from, and he's the lead blocker. There's those seal blocks right here from our inside players, Reese Anderson and T.J. Hunt. And then Ty Stone gets the kick-out block, and Braden's able to get in here. And then right lowers his shoulder right as he crosses the goal line, gets into the end zone for a touchdown. The next big play is a 57-yard throw and catch from our quarterback Chase Senelik to T.J. Hunt. You can see as the play unfolds, we're faking the play to the right, and then we're faking the reverse to Braden Bafetis to the left. But it's neither of those plays. Instead, as the defense comes rushing forward, it's actually T.J. Hunt running by them, and a well-thrown ball by Chase Senelik. You can see he's got a couple of yards of separation there on the safety. The ball comes floating in, and we get the ball caught, and he's out ahead of him, and he's able to distance himself 57 yards. Actually, had 2 57-yard touchdown catches from TJ, and that's one of them. See it from behind, you can kind of see as the play unfolds. There's the fake to the right to Doug Lance, one of our tailbacks, and then there's the reverse fake to Braden Bafetis going to the left, and everyone's heading this way to stop what they think is the reverse. And then TJ, the safety, looks up and sees him, is going to try to recover, but TJ does a nice job of cutting underneath him and changing directions on him. You can see he flipped his hips and now he's going to run away from him. He's got separation. The ball's well thrown and caught, and then just a question of running the rest of the way. Big play allows us to, again, to pull away a bit. Our next big play is a defensive play. We're going to focus on a couple of our guys, but specifically McLean Garrett, who we've focused on several times this year. He's in a stand-up position with a circle around him at the bottom of the screen. As Canyon's play begins, it's a pass. We get a nice push over here by Jackson Maynard, and he occupies a couple, 3 blockers trying to keep him off the quarterback, which frees up McLean to get around the edge right there. You can see he's now beat the tackle who was initially occupied by Jackson Maynard. And as he gets to him, he has the wherewithal, the quick thinking, I'm going to sack this guy, but as I sack him, I'm going to tomahawk down with my right hand and punch the ball out while I tackle him. He does that. You can see the ball on the ground. There's a mad scramble for it. Eventually, Doug Lance, who's doubling up at defensive end, our running back who's doubling up at defensive end, he eventually comes out of that pile with the football, as you can see, and gives us a short field and allows us to score again right before the half. From the end zone, you can see it. It's Jackson Maynard right there with the arrow. He's going to split those 2 blockers and occupy the running back. Swallow up 3 blockers and free up McLean to come off the edge. You can see as the snap comes back, there's Jackson. He's kind of got that triangle, and they're all squeezing him, and now they can't recover. And McLean does a great job of rounding the corner. Then right here, I'm going to strip the ball as well as get the sack. Ball's loose. There's a lot of guys get a chance at it. Number 3, Doug Lance, is the one that eventually gets on the thing and gives us the short field that goes down to let us score. Our kicking game play of the week is Clayton Amaya, who's well known for his place kicking, but he's also become our punter. And the snap comes back from Jackson Maynard. We're punting from the 42-yard line. He tumble punched that, kicks it away from their returner. The ball end over end rolls. You can see it bouncing inside the 10. And then eventually we kill that thing on the 1-yard line. So it's a 42-yard punt, and Canyon's staring at a 99-yard field. From behind the defense, you can see it. Jackson Maynard has the arrow that's down low there. He's the deep snapper. You can see how well he gets that ball back there. That thing's right on the money. So we're able to get it away quick, and it's an angle punt. We're trying to kick away from people, a little bit different style of punting. He hits on the 20, but then we get a big roll. And then Ezekiel Devadas, one of our gunners, what we call gunners, one of the first ones down, kills it right there on the 1-yard line and gives Canyon the long field. And those are our plays of the week.
And again, Smithson Valley awfully impressive. All 3 phases in a 35-0 win over Canyon this past week. The opponent this week, the bye. Smithson Valley has an off week this week. Up next, they'll play Lehman after the off week. We'll talk more about that when we come back as Inside Rangers football continues right after this.
2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. All for the Rangers. Stand up and holler!
Ow! No, what's wrong? I really hurt my leg. That's horrible. Wait, Elle's dad sells insurance. Maybe he can help.
I wish he could, but...
My dad has his life insurance with Jeremy Fuller State Farm Insurance.
Yes, but...
My mom has her homeowner's policy with Jeremy Fuller State Farm Insurance also.
I know my uncle says he only trusts Jeremy Fuller State Farm with his auto insurance needs.
Guys, wait! We do so many great coverages, but just not cheerleader legs.
Hey, that's okay. It's all better now. Let's start from the top, but with a little change.
2 bits, 4 bits, 6 bits, $1. All for Jeremy Fuller State Farm Insurance. Stand up and holler!
Yay!
This week in Rangers trivia, Smithson Valley is coming off of a 35-0 shutout victory over Canyon from this past Thursday. The biggest margin of victory for the Rangers in a shutout is 56 points against which opponent? Is the answer A, Canyon, B, Clemens, or C, Austin Anderson? The answer is C, Austin Anderson. The Rangers beat the Trojans 56-0 in 2017, while they posted a 55-0 win over Canyon in 2001 and a 51-0 win over Clemens last year. And we're back on Inside Rangers football, back from Rangers trivia. Smithson Valley again is at the halfway point of the 2022 season. 4-1 the record, 2-0 in District 12 5A. So, Coach, as you evaluate your team now at the halfway point of the year, 5 games in, record 4-1. More importantly, again, the unbeaten start to district play. What is your evaluation of your football team right now?
Well, we're still not to cast a negative light on it, but we like to think we're still an unfinished product. You know, we don't feel like we've peaked. We've played well enough to win, as you mentioned, and that's a good thing. But you know, I think like most teams, we're still kind of roughing it out, trial and error. This lineup combination appears to be clicking better than this one, or moving parts around a little bit, or just deciding what the culture of our defense and offense is, what we need to feature, what we need to shy away from. And you know, I think that's still ongoing, but beginning to round into form. And but I've been real pleased with our players' team chemistry, their effort, their attentiveness in practice and in meetings. You know, that's hard to achieve, and this group is really good at it. And you know, I think we're beginning to round into form. We certainly want to hit our peak soon.
As you look at strengths and weaknesses right now, 5 games in, what would you identify those as?
Well, I think defensively preventing explosive plays. You know, we haven't allowed a lot of points, and part of that is, you know, we haven't given up, knock on wood, a lot of the big chunk throws and runs. You know, we've given up a few because you play good people. You know, we always want to win in that category, and I think the last 3 weeks or so, on the flip side of that, we begin to be more explosive offensively. Now, sometimes some of those opponents have something to do with that. You say, well, you know, geez, we didn't get any early on. Well, some of those people are hard to get them against, but begin to get, particularly with our throwing game up the field, and that's opened up some things running game wise. I think we're +5 in the turnover margin, which is always good. And our kicking game, whether it be kickoff coverage or our punt coverage, has been good. And we had some early returns, some big returns in the kicking game. Haven't had those the last week or two, but so, you know, we still got some things to rough out, but by and large, we're pleased with where we're at.
Again, 2-0 right now in District 12 5A. You've passed 2 pretty tough tests already in Wagner and in Canyon. Off week this week. You will pick things back up against Lehman after the bye week. Still have to play Hayes, Bernie Champion, Seguin, San Antonio MacArthur, the back half of the schedule. As you looked at District 12 5A, now that a few teams or now that we are 2 weeks into district play, everybody's at the halfway point of their seasons. What have you noticed about this district?
Well, it's kind of hard to get it figured out. Number one, as Ranger fans know, we've played in the same league with, by and large, the same cast of characters for a long time. Now we got, other than Wagner, we've got a different cast of characters. So with A beating B, what does that really mean? You know, that we're still kind of sorting through that. Obviously, Hayes has not been beaten and has scored a bushel of points every week. So clearly they're in the thick of this thing. Champion is 0-2, but played some really good teams and had some narrow losses. Seguin is 2-0, and I think the meat of their schedule's coming up. And Wagner's right there, you know, and we just feel so fortunate to have dodged them and got them over with and with a win. And so how it's going to shake out these last 5 weeks, still a little bit TBA, but I think over the first 2 or 3 weeks after the break, things will become a little more clear. And we try not to spend too much time analyzing. You know, let's just, today's practice, today's meetings, next opponent, and let's take care of our own business, and maybe we'll have a shot right there at the end.
Week to week, you have that routine about, you know, practicing, getting ready for games and film review. But when you don't have an opponent that particular week, the bye week, how does your routine change?
It does change some, and that always makes coaches squirm a little bit because we are creatures of habit, and you know, we want to do the Monday things and the Tuesday things, and they all point towards and culminate in a Friday night game. And now it doesn't. And so at the same time, we want to rest a minute. You know, we want to rest a minute before the final push. And, you know, so building in some time off that they don't normally get, at the same time having quality practices that help you improve. You know, that's kind of been a little bit through the years of trial and error. What is the best way to handle it? And so they're going to have a little time away from football. They're going to have a couple of Saturday mornings off. Had one last Saturday, have one this Saturday that they don't normally get on. And most of our practices will not be geared toward a specific opponent, but almost spring training-ish, in the sense that it's a lot of general improvement and not necessarily a lot of strategy showing up. And so you know, we hope to be a better football team Monday a week than we are this Monday, and then get ready to get going again on Lehman Week 1 week from now.
So, with no game on a Friday night, Coach, what does Larry Hill do with his open Fridays?
Well, you know, as always, I would probably get out and do a lot of wild things. Probably take a trip to Costa Rica or something, and you know, catch a Rolling Stones concert if I can, and maybe get a tattoo.
All right. Well, all things that we figured you probably would
That's
say.
right.
So
Pretty
looking-
normal stuff for me.
Yeah.
That's right.
So looking forward to the next set of ink that Larry Hill will have on the sidelines for the game against Lehman. But until then, it's Smithson Valley on a bye this week, and they enter the bye in the halfway point of the season with an impressive record, 4-1, and again unbeaten in district play, 2-0. Coach, we'll see you against Lehman here in a little more than a week.
All right. Thank you, Brandon.
All right, for head coach Larry Hill, I'm Brant Freeman. You've been watching Inside Rangers Football, and we'll see you next time.